Hello and welcome. This is a highly anticipated event. And just when I think things are going to slow down, they actually speed up incredibly fast. I have never in the last 25 years had a day like I've had today to go along with the portal and talking with coaches and parents and athletes. We have this new discussion point of the NCAA cabinet ratifying and presenting the 5 years of eligibility within the 5 years after completion of your high school year. And there's so much ambiguity and so much confusion. I'm going to try to simplify it. Want to first thank the people at Proline. The training balls, both baseball and softball. You have heard from Wake Forest, you've heard from Penn State, all kinds of schools that are using the training balls for two very specific reasons. One, durability, and two, they have all of the characteristics of the conventional, original, real baseball and softball, but provide safety as far as repetitions with velocity, training, so it prevents injuries. And if you are a parent or a student athlete, you have a cage, you have a machine, and you want to train with the best. You want to train with the Proline training ball. So let's get right to this. Now, first and foremost, I want to be very clear and a couple of different points. You're confused as a parent, and I already see all kinds of questions coming in, and I just want to make sure I address this directly for parents. So the biggest thing is a lot of content, a lot of people, a lot of content, and it's coming out fast and furious. Look on social media, you get all kinds of opinions, hot takes, and I get it. But parents are still confused. And the biggest reality is, how does this really work? How does this affect my student athlete, especially for those athletes or families that consider a potential gap year, post-grad year, things of that nature? Tonight, I'm going to explain everything that I possibly can, and I'm going to answer your questions. So I want to make sure that you understand when you ask a question and you see me put the glasses on, you know that I'm reading the questions because my eyesight at 63 is abysmal. So there we actually are. Now, let's get out in front of this for a second. First and foremost, if you have been following me for any significant length of time, you will understand that we have been talking about this for almost 18 months. Like when I did a video, and you can look at it on my YouTube channel, said predictions of the future, I basically said there will be a day where we'll have 5 years of eligibility. Today, as of 2026, June, we are talking about a Division I topic, NCAA Division I topic. So let's be extremely clear and realistic. This is for Division I athletes only. I'm gonna get to all the other levels and divisions, but tonight we are talking about Division I. So a few ancillary initial questions to answer. One, Division II. Remember, we talked about this. Division II in January kicked the can to next year. Do I think that Division II will ultimately be a part of this 5-and-5? Yes. Obviously, the next question is, do I think NCAA Division III will ultimately get to this point? Strongly possible. I don't think the NCAA wants to deal with, one level doing something, but I can tell you one of the hottest trends, and all you have to do to verify me and my opinions or things that I offer you is simply go on to any forum you like. You can Google, you can double check my words. I encourage you to do so. I do not make things up and pull them out of the air. The biggest trend in college baseball is Division III athletes going to Division I. Now, I can tell you today, if you were to go into the portal, and I look in the portal every day, a lot of athletes are going, to Division I from some of these big Division III schools. And as I have said, week after week after week for months, NCAA Division III baseball it's the best bang for the buck. You're getting a resume, you're putting stats up on the board, and if you prove that you can play there, you're going to get seen and coaches talk. And I promise you, it's not just JUCO to Division One. It's NCAA Division III to Division One, Division II to Division One. So all levels are going to be impacted in some way, shape, or form with this. But parents, stop. Don't chase the hype. Ask yourself before you go making a myriad of decisions, all predicated on this 5 and 5. Remember, all sports at the NCAA Division I level, approximately 500,000. I'm talking all sports, men's, women's, from rowing, golf, tennis, everything. And only a fraction, when I say a fraction, less than 2% of any NCAA Division I athlete is going to earn a living playing that sport. And so, again, I don't know why a lot of people feel this way. I'm curious to find out. If you know, please share it with me. We seem to have allowed athletics to take the front seat, and that's driving the bus, when there has to be some component to this that is academic and college experience orientated. At least in my opinion, athletics play a role, but ultimately there will be a future beyond athletics. So I want to just throw that out there because I believe strongly in that. So let me first throw the goggles on here. What time does this start? Hello, we are starting. Wellness Hacker. What time are you on? Naomi, I am on. Here I am. Keith, woohoo, here we are. Welcome. Thank you for always supporting. And I know Trace has landed in a good spot. I wish more people would read what I wrote. Chris, hello, Coach. Hello, Chris in Florida. And I'm really hoping that we'll be able to answer a lot of these questions here tonight. I'm going to start with what the actual rule really is. And so when I'm looking here, I'm reading questions that I've grouped together. If you look at my social media, there's 1 million people that answer questions. And I want to make sure I'm getting these answered. I take pride in trying to do that. So let's just start with the old rule versus the new rule real quick. The old rule, you had 5 years, you had 4 years of eligibility to complete within a 5-year period. And you had topics like redshirt, medical redshirt, hardship waivers, family sickness, etc. Now, just cut and dry. I just want to be very specific. Starting and commencing with in the 2027 high school graduates, you will have 5 years to complete of eligibility, athletic eligibility in 5 years of time. So let's start there. Now, the first piece to this puzzle that I want to plug in for everyone that's watching, you have to look at this, and I'm going to present to you various scenarios, but I'm going to try to simplify it this way. As long as you're not turning 20 while you are a high school student athlete, and let's say you graduate high school. Now, in some cases, that could be the conventional kindergarten through 12, K through 12. In other cases, the magical gap year / post-grad year. I'm a huge fan of the post-grad year. We'll call it the 13th year. As long as within those windows, your student athlete has not turned 20, meaning let's say they were born in 2008. I'm trying to do my math on the fly here. Again, this pertains to 2027. And they graduate high school and they're 19 and 7 months. When they enroll in college that fall of 2027, 19 years have gone by, and you are 5 years of eligibility within 5 years. If you have started JUCO, you went to high school K through 12, then you went to JUCO, and you did 2 years of JUCO, you then have 3 years of eligibility. But I'm going to get to those scenarios. But I want people to simplify this. First, today, as we're talking, it's a Division I, NCAA Division I topic. So for all those athletes that are not Division I athletes today, this does not apply to you. What does apply is if you go to Division III at the NCAA level, you go to the JUCO level. Bear in mind that if you were to go to the Division III level and do 4 years, you would have one additional year, whether to get your graduate degree or extend your hours in a certain academic area of interest. You would have one additional year. Do not try to create scenarios. My son's birthday or daughter's birthday is on this date, and when they graduate, they will be 19 in 7 months. Theoretically, and I want to make sure I explain this carefully, your student athlete could graduate at 18, as my youngest son did. He was 17, and upon graduation, he was just turning 18. If he were so inclined to go to a post-grad school or do a gap year, he could do so, because during that extra year, he would only be 19. He would still be within the age threshold. If you really want to break this down, just conventional wisdom would say your student athlete cannot turn 20 at any time in their high school experience. I don't even know why I'm saying this, but I feel like I have to say this. Cannot turn 20 while they are in high school. And once they complete their high school requirement, they then enroll in college. They will have 5 years. You can do 2 years in Division II, 3 years in Division I, if you're so inclined. You can do 2 years of JUCO and do 3 years of Division I. Ultimately, I believe this whole scenario will basically be, and I've been saying this since day one. People have been telling me I'm wrong. 18, 20 months ago, I did a scenario similar to college hockey, and people shredded me and saying, well, hockey's been doing this for years. Yes, but most hockey players are 20 or 21 going into their freshman year. That is simply not the case. It is going to be, you can go to high school. You can be 19 years and 6 months. You graduate high school at 19 and 7 months. You then must take your going into college. You still have the 5 and 5 at the NCAA Division I level. Post-grad. Most people are saying, oh, now everybody wants to do post-grad. No kidding. No kidding. This is why everybody has started a post-grad academy and everybody's selling a new version of their school. If you want a prediction for the future, nail this, bookmark this. I said it last week. Do you want to know what all of the venture capital, hedge fund people, really aggressive business people are going to do? They're going to attack high school. They're going to come after your high school, and they're going to charge you some silly amounts of money for you to send your student athlete to high school, all in the favor of do that extra year, get bigger, get stronger, come to the school of baseball, come to the school of tennis or golf or fencing. Come here, spend 30, 40, 50, 80,000 a year. Come over here. We'll prepare you. And you know what? We'll only go to school for 2 hours and we'll just practice and lift weights all the rest of the time. And your student athlete will be fine. Don't worry about it. Absolutely not. Who needs a prom? Who needs friends? Who needs all that stuff? I don't need to be friends with the faculty. I'll just do everything online and use AI. But I digress. I want you to understand. Simplify this in such a way that as long as your student athlete, K through 12, in any way you want to shape that, if you want to back up a year because your student athlete is currently on path to graduate at 18, knock yourself out. But again, I stress, are we solely going to make decisions for our children predicated on athletics? And are we really going to try to chase Division I when will we know if our student athlete is even capable of Division One? So my point is, as long as your student athlete graduates from high school, whether they do a postgraduate year or not, they can be 19 and 7 months, 19 and 8 months. They just can't be 20. And the other thing I want to make crystal clear, if you think, now this is going to create a lot of great competition for 19 through 24-year-olds, in some cases 20 through 25-year-olds. The 19-year-old that turns 19 graduates high school in 19, and if we're talking about a spring athlete, they may turn 20 during that time period. My son had a birthday in May, so spring birthday. And now they're turning 20 during their year of athletic competition. Well, every year that means they'll ultimately, as a senior, be 25. What I need you to understand is that I have been emphasizing to parents, this is going to create a scenario, and I deal in the portal every day. And I want you to understand, when you start to have 5 classes, I don't care how we classify them, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, post-grad, or graduate, 5 classes that are making up capped rosters. Division One is 34 as we're talking today. Division Two is 36. You are going to have roster construction with older, stronger, skilled athletes. So this topic that we're involved with tonight, let's not lose sight of the fact that your athletes have to begin to prepare. And I'm going to get to that at the end of this discussion. Your athletes have to begin to prepare for the competition that awaits them when they get to college. And that's important for you to know. It's important. Again, questions. Patrick, with the clock starting the academic year after you turn 19, what is the actual date that you need to be born after? Please, let's just your athlete can't turn 20 while they're in high school. Let's simplify this. Just simplify this. For the love of goodness, simplify this. Your athlete cannot turn 20 before they graduate high school. If they graduate on May 30th and they turn 20 on June 28th, as long as your student athlete has graduated and completed high school as a 19-year-old, and is entering the fall, they will only have 5 years of eligibility. 5 years of eligibility. We don't want to try to create these scenarios about my birthday is here, my JUCO is this. And if you're currently a JUCO student athlete and you just completed year 1 as a freshman, you're going to have 4 more years. Whether you do 1 more year at JUCO, 3 at Division I, you'll have 2 at Division II, you'd have 2 at Division III, and you'd have 2 at NAIA. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. It's important to understand all athletes may never have the ability to play Division I athletics. The amount of athletes that are currently in the portal is insane. And I deal with it every single day. To play Division I athletics, you are going to need to be strong enough, skilled enough, and mentally prepared for the ebbs and flows of college athletics. So turns 19 senior year. So this clock would start August of next season. Yes, this is a 2027 discussion. 2027. So if you're a student athlete right now, just graduated in 2026, and let's say they're a Division I athlete, they will have 5 years of eligibility. If your student athlete is a junior, at a JUCO, and they're a freshman or sophomore, just subtract. If they just completed their freshman year, they ultimately will have 4 years of eligibility at Division I. This is a Division I topic tonight. It's not Division II. It's not Division III as of 2026. 100%. So many schools already saying it. Yes. What do you think this will do to JUCO? Now, this is actually going to benefit JUCO athletes. I had a lot of parents that asked me about, will this benefit JUCO? Yes, 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 yes. You go to JUCO, you play for 2 years. Now, bear in mind, a lot of JUCO athletes redshirt. Topic for another day. Don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let's just talk about the conventional 2-year JUCO student athlete. Goes there out of high school, plays for 2 years. They went at 18, they went at 19. Really doesn't matter. If you play for 2 years, you now have 3 years of eligibility at Division I, 2 years of eligibility currently at Division II and Division III and NAIA. Understand the number one key foundational point is creating a resume. The portal is littered with athletes that have gone to their dream school only to sit, watch, and be a spectator, have no resume, and now have fallen behind all kinds of athletes at other divisions, levels of college athletics that have a resume. I see it all the time. I see it every day. Every day. Let's just see on here. My son finishes high school and turns 18 in the summer. What are good options to do for the extra year before he becomes 19? I get this question all the time. Now, I will say to you, if you are academically inclined, I'm a huge fan of a postgraduate year. Just understand, and this is where I might lose some people. You don't want to be doing dual enrollment like some post-grad schools are, like you're taking full-time college classes. Now, if you're taking a full-time college while calling it a post-grad year, which a lot of schools do, now your clock started. So you want to make sure you're staying in the world of high school transcript and not creating a dual enrollment. Now, if you have questions about that, you want to ask me directly, walter@coachbeede.com. But for those athletes that have turned 18 and graduated high school, I am a huge, huge proponent of doing a post-grad year. In light of this new rule that, contrary to many people telling you the exact opposite of the reality, if your student athlete graduates at 18, you do a post-grad year, your student athlete turns 19 at the completion of the post-grad year, guess what? You have 5 years of eligibility. Your clock didn't start. Even though all the gurus want to tell you that your clock started, it didn't start. So the whole premise is that you utilize that extra year to do 3 things. 1, I would go away to a post-grad school, live away, learn how to live with a roommate, time management, understand the workload that is required to be a student athlete, understand how to create your meals, do your laundry, clean your room, how to be a college student before you actually have to be a college student. It's going to help you. And if you, again, are academically inclined, there are scholarships that help your student. You don't have to go to the $80,000 a year school. There are post-grad schools all across the country. Make sure it is an environment that is similar to college. There are roommates, there is faculty, there is a campus, there are students. You're interacting. Don't go to a school online. If you want to do that, you can call it a gap year. You can do the gap year, but your student athletes at home watching cartoons, they're not learning how to be a college student. And I get it from an affordability perspective, but for the love of goodness, look into opportunities. I have been doing this for 40 years, and I can tell you, the families that I work with, and there are lots of them, and I'm happy to connect you with them, love the post-grad year. Love, 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 love. And they all have positive feedback. Not a one has ever said, well, that was a waste of time. But my point is, you want them to get mentally prepared to live away from home. You want them to become mentally prepared on how to compete in the environment with older or more experienced students, and athletes, the level of competition at some of these schools significantly upgrades. Get 1 year physically more mature, 1 year mentally, academically more mature. It's tremendously beneficial. But again, remember, we're talking about an NCAA Division I mandate. If your student athlete isn't Division I, you want to just go about your business, because the vast majority, almost 9 out of 10, are never going to play Division I athletics. So you need to understand, from an affordability, from a reality, a realistic understanding. I know what athletes are chasing. I know what athletes are dreaming of. But I have to tell you, in light of the new CBA that's coming down with all the new changes to the draft, specifically to college baseball, you must understand there is a lot of stones being placed on top of these athletes, and the pressure is immense. Let's not forget about NAIA. Let's not forget about NJCAA, aka JUCO. Let's not forget about Division III, Division II. Bear in mind, at all of those divisions I just mentioned, they have developmental and JUCO rosters. They all practice together, but there is a varsity and there's a developmental / JV component. Okay, let's see. Keep it simple. I apologize if you already answered. What does the student athlete who planned to postgrad based on previous rules, birthday late August, turns 19, college start date after birthday this year and before next? You got to keep it simple for me. Like, I got to understand, is your athlete going to be turning 20 as a postgrad? Because if he turns 20, he's going to lose a year. But if your student athlete is doing a postgrad year and they're 19 and 8 months, 19 and 9 months, 19 and 10 months, it's okay. It's okay. Simplify this. Keep it simple. You cannot in any way, shape, or form turn 20. Let's make it as simple as possible before you enter college. The other thing to understand is compliance at every single college is going to answer all these questions. You know, I have parents asking me about the old rules and new rules, meaning you're a current college student and you redshirted this year. Okay, you may want to just take, and you still have 4 years of eligibility. You're going to get that 5th year. You're going to get the 5th year because you still have eligibility remaining. If at the completion of this year, meaning 2026, your eligibility is done, like right now, you just graduated from college, you are done. Now, will there be appeals? Will there be litigation? I bet my bottom dollar there will be. Will it be adjudicated? I don't have any idea. But I can tell you that this new 5 and 5 is going to allow for roster certainty for college programs, all Division I sports. But you need to really understand what that means. It means older, stronger, talented athletes around longer, competing for roster spots for these high school graduates. I'm going to get to that at the end, I promise you. Have you heard of any of your sources if the changes will impact the NAIA eligibility? NAIA recently, they were taking this vote into consideration. I do think ultimately all levels, all divisions will go to 5, and I mean 4-year schools. I'm not talking about JUCO. I am not talking about JUCO. I do think all current 4-year programs, NAIA, NCAA, will ultimately all end up being 5 years of eligibility in 5 years. Simplifies it for everybody, but make sure you understand when that happens. A lot of families are, hooray, my high school graduate's going to have 5 years. Yes, indeedy, but you better be ready to compete with those older players that are getting an extra year. The draft is being cut. Baseball, I'm just talking baseball right now. And when the draft gets cut, that means more players are not leaving and they're sticking around in college. And why not? Because I'm going to get a graduate degree, or I might be getting some collective or name, image, and likeness money. Folks, with every positive comes a word of caution. But let's just simplify this for everyone that finds their way to this video. You cannot turn 20 prior to enrolling in college. So if your student athlete graduates high school at 19 and 8 months, and let's say it's May or June, by August or September, whenever enrollment begins at your college, as long as they have not turned 20, you're going to have 5 in 5. Again, currently a Division I mandate. Currently a Division I mandate. Let's see. I graduated high school in 2025, December 25, in Australia, and have already reclassified to 27. As I will be, yeah, you'll be fine. If you are 19 in August of 2027, your clock will have 5 years at NCAA Division I today. Simple. Will they put individual date that applies for everyone that defines the academic year? They are. They are. And this is where everybody wants to create misinformation or disinformation. I don't really understand it, to be honest with you. Now, look, there's a lot of great people in this space, a lot of great people. I am not a fan of people that attach themselves to my social media trying to sell parents something. But I will tell you quite simply, a lot of great people in this space. Joey Santani, I've rattled them all off. There are a lot of great people. I'm certainly not idiotic enough to even remotely consider myself to be the guy. I am not the guy. I'm a 63-year-old person that's been in this world for 40 years. I have relationships, and I speak to college coaches all day long because most of them are friends, acquaintances. They're part of my business. I want you to understand there are no specific dates. As long as your student athlete does not enter college, turning 20, meaning as long as they graduated high school, 19 and 6 months, 19 and 8 months, 19 and 10 months, it really doesn't matter. They cannot be 20 when they enroll in college. The simplest way to validate and verify is to contact whoever you are being recruited by and speak with the compliance officer. A lot of people in a lot of different sports, and I see all the gurus that come out of the woodworks, their basketball, their football, their softball, their lacrosse, their golf. I want you to understand this rule applies to Division I. That means most of the parents that are all getting excited, this will not impact them during their student athletes' freshman or sophomore year in college. It simply won't. Now, when the other divisions and the other levels come into play, meaning Division II, Division III, and NAIA, when that happens, I think everybody's just going to be on one level playing field. And just to keep it simple, you can be a high school student and be 19. You can graduate at 19. You can graduate at 19 in whatever months, but you cannot enroll in college. If college enrollment comes around in August or September and you are 20, unacceptable. Just be 19. I don't care 19 in how many days, 19 in how many weeks, 19 in how many months. It does not matter. Understand, all sports at the NCAA Division I level have caps. Nobody's talking about this topic. Caps. So with a capped roster, no redshirts, pretty much no walk-ons, you now have a situation where it is going to be much more challenging for those high school athletes that are younger, meaning they're 18. My son graduated high school at 17. I've already talked about that ad nauseum. In today's world, I would have absolutely 1,000% have had my son do a post-grad year if this was 2011, but it's not. It's 2026. Do I think post-grad is a great opportunity? I most certainly do. Do I think it's great for all facets of life? I most certainly do. Friendships, relationships, networks, learning, academics, strength, mental clarity, mental maturity, growing up. We are in a world where all of these parents are trying to get children to grow up. I have freshman parents of rising freshmen, meaning they just graduated from 8th grade. And they're all over social media promoting a 2030 or 2031. Right now, the only classes that really have interest should be 2027, 2028. I get 2026. There are a lot of 2026s that have just been tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, sorry, I know you just graduated high school, but there's no room for you at Division I. You're going to have to find an alternative. That's just the fact. That's just the reality. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. And that's really important for you to know as parents. Nobody else wants to tell you this. But here's the brutal reality, because I deal in the mud every single day. College coaches are not the bad guys. They're not the bad guys. Here's why. College coaches are asked to perform to the best of their abilities to put a roster together that gives that program the best opportunity to compete next year and the years that follow, year after year. And if they don't, guess what? They get replaced. And these people have families. This is their livelihood. It's nothing personal. It's just business. You need to take, as a parent, there are no bad guys here. You need to make a plan. You need to make a plan. The vast majority of people, and when I say the vast majority, I want you to understand, let me emphasize, majority, not all, majority are ridiculously underinformed. And I get all these people that are out here, they're marketing themselves and they have all this stuff. There are some really sane, well-spoken, really well-informed, knowledgeable people. Find those people and have a plan. You need a plan. I don't care if you're going to NAIA. I don't care if you're going to JUCO. You need a plan. You know how many parents I get calls from? My son attended a JUCO last year. Had I known there were going to be 147 people trying out in the fall and then cutting the roster down to 87, I probably wouldn't have gone to JUCO. When did you ask the question? Did you ask that? Did you have a plan? Well, my son went to Division I, but the coach really was arrogant and didn't even talk to him the whole year, and he never played. When did you have a plan? Did you talk to the Division III coach that said they had a roster spot and a playing opportunity? Here's the other thing. Playing opportunity is earned. It's earned, it's earned, it's earned. Playing time is earned. Really understand that dynamic, because your athlete could be a 6A All-American elite triple platinum travel player and ranked number 5 in the country. Doesn't matter. They better be ready for college athletics. Division III, wow, is it good? And man, I coached in Division III and it was nothing like it is today. Division III, if I put, it's almost like the Coke and Pepsi test. If I take the names off the jersey and the logos off the hats, and I just put, the blue team versus the green team, and you don't know who's Division I from Division II or who's NAIA from NCAA, with the rare exceptions of maybe Oklahoma and the University of North Carolina and Texas and Georgia and Vanderbilt and USC, everybody else is going to blend. I promise you they're going to blend. So unplug the expectation of level and plug in opportunity, plug in right fit, plug those things in first. You'll have a much more enjoyable college experience. I promise you. Again, simple explanation, folks. Take this to the bank. Simple explanation. Your student athlete cannot be 20 years old when they are enrolling in college. Plain and simple. When they graduate high school, whatever they are at 19, you're all set. If they graduate high school at 18, do I think, because my whole screen is lined up with this question, do I think a post-grad year is a good opportunity? If you have a student athlete, a daughter, a son, and you are a parent, I am a father, I have lived this. I want you to understand. If I had it to do all over again, and my son was a first-round draft pick out of high school, he was a first-round draft pick out of college, but his freshman year, he got tattooed. And if I had it to do all over again, I would go to a post-grad school. I would run on broken glass and nails, knowing what I know now. From a maturity, from a preparation, from life skills, the networks, everything that goes along with that. And it doesn't have to be the highfalutin, what I call grape upon Thurston Howell III postgraduate opportunity. It can be something as simple as a postgraduate high school that offers your student athlete that extra year of development in life. Don't worry about the athletics, life. It is crucial that we stop trying to fast forward our children into the meat grinder of reality of adulthood. For the love of God, slow down, slow down. You're going to miss out. If your son or daughter is 14 or 15, relax. There is no recruiting. If your student athlete is going to be a sophomore this year, there is no recruiting. Don't think about it. Don't worry about it. Prepare. Become the best version of yourself for your student athlete's sake. Let them be mentally and physically mature. Okay, here we go. If my son reclassifies, he will turn 20 in August. No, don't reclass. So Stephanie, you don't need to reclass. You don't. If he's already 18 and he's a junior and he's going into his senior year and he's going to turn 19 in 6 months, do not reclass. Do not reclass. Do not. I want to emphasize that. Do not. Stephanie, I know who you are. I know your son. And the way this is working for Division I. Now, if we're talking Division II or III or anything like that, I don't want to make life decisions predicated strictly on a Division I athlete opportunity. I think that could be a tough. I would not recommend that. But recruiting now is going to be very complicated because of this this whole 5 and 5. And let's get to the meat and potatoes and understand how does this apply to you as a parent. And so, and I see all your questions coming in, and I see them coming in via like my phone is literally blowing up, and I will get to these questions, I promise you. But understand, so if he let me go back. If you're 17 today, you're going to be 18 in August of 2026. You're going to be 18 in August of 2026. In August, I don't have the exact date here. You need to understand you can't be 20 when you're going into college. Plain and simple. Can't be 20. You can't be your birthday. You cannot be 20 going into college. Now, does that mean there will be athletes that will turn 20 in September or October after enrolling in starting classes? Yes. That means they will be playing baseball or playing a sport until they are 25 years old at the Division I level. At the Division I level. That you need to understand. Reclass year, graduation, he'll be 20 August of 28. Yeah, so you would not want to reclass. The August, if he's turning 20 in August, you would, now if there's a school, this is all compliance, but we can go down to the nitty. But I would say in your particular case, and I do know your son and I know his skill set, and yes, I do believe he has that skill. But I would definitely you would want to be repeating junior year this year so that in 26, 27, he's a junior. And then in 27, 28, he graduates. He would still be 19 during that time period. He would graduate high school as a 19-year-old. So that will allow him to be eligible. Now, let's talk about some of these other topics that are coming in here. And I'm going to list them very quickly because I don't want to spend a lot of time. A lot of colleges are encouraging high school graduates that are graduating at 18 and 8 months, 18 and 9 months to reclass and do a post-grad year. This is why the venture capital and the money people are going to come after the high school experience. But you need to understand, have a plan. Just don't do this blindly and spend money or reclass, hoping your student athlete suddenly becomes skilled enough to play Division I. You can go through the conventional process and do Division III and get that 5th year at Division I after graduating Division III or spending 2, 3, even 4 years Division III, you still get that 5th year. Don't panic. Don't panic. I explained that earlier in the video. The other thing to understand is with the caps, again, I want to reiterate this. College coaches are going to be more inclined to take the older, experienced player, whether that be from JUCO, Division III, Division II, NAIA, or a portal athlete with a resume. Division I is going to be about production. All pieces to the roster puzzle must be able to produce when called upon. Understand. Now, I get a lot of parents that have sent me this development process question. Here's the number one takeaway that we all need to start talking about sooner rather than later. At some point, we as adults have to convince student athletes beginning at the age of 14 minimum, they need to take accountability for their development. Their development. Don't leave development to an instructor. Don't leave it to a travel coach or a high school coach. They are there to coach your student athletes, yes, to practice. Ask your travel coaches, how often are you practicing? How often are you working on development, i.e., repetitions, i.e., strength? The other thing that is coming down the track, and you need to hear the train whistle, a lot of colleges are backpedaling from summer baseball for their existing athletes and now focusing on strength, rest, recovery, replenishment. Is your student athlete resting, replenishing, and recovering? Are you giving your athlete the proper amount of time to do the 3 R's, rest, recover, and replenish? Because that's a big topic amongst college coaches. I deal with that with a lot of athletes and very big Power 4 schools and getting them into Ben Fairchild, Cressy Performance, Tommy Moffitt. So all of these strength coaches are now getting inundated with athletes that are, and I hate this word, taking the summer off. Should I take the summer off? No, you're not taking the summer off. You're simply replacing this. I won't even use the word. You're replacing this crazy tournament schedule. And now what you're actually doing is you're going and making yourself better. Because guess what? Not only are you lifting weights and getting the right sleep and right hydration and right nutrition, but you're getting repetitions. You're taking ground balls. You're taking batting practice. You're catching bullpens. That's how you get better. That's development. Take control of your parents. Take control of your student athlete's development. Grab it by the horns. Stop chasing, start choosing. I can tell you 100% fact that college coaches now are really getting into, let's get in the weight room. Let's get into our resting, recovery, and replenishment. What do we need to be better at? Do we need to be more explosive? Do we need to be more strengthen our core? Does our shoulder need more scap strength, rear heads of our shoulder strength? Do we need to be making sure that our cardio, our sprint work is getting done? Take control of your development. Stop chasing the conventional recruiting model. And that's all they're doing is using your student athletes. How many parents right now that watch this video are being asked to sign? You're signing away your name, image, and likeness. All images and likenesses of your student athlete. If you participate in our event, you do not own anything that we capture at our tournaments, our showcases, our events. Man, oh man, we need to wake up. We need to wake up. We need to stop this idiotic 13 through 16-year-old world that we live in, where we're worried about exit velocities and pitching velocities and rankings and all this other stuff as it pertains to recruiting is not relevant. Here's what is relevant: development, repetitions, strength, speed, skill. Start making sure those are a key part of your student athlete's summers. I don't care what sport, but you need to take control of development. Don't pay somebody for your student athlete to go for 30 minutes to swing a bat. Don't pay somebody to give you and you're buying a subscription to read highlights about what your student athlete did against 14-year-olds. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Well, Walter, you seem to want to group everybody, and you're so negative. I'm going to do whatever I think is right for my son. And okay, great. That's great. If you feel that's great, phenomenal. Nobody's saying you shouldn't. You're the parent. You make the final decision. But when you're 18 or 19 and you're worried why nobody's recruiting your student athlete because they were the super duper triple platinum elite triple team of the year in any state you want to pick in this country, a college coach is simply going to look to the 21, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old and go, that guy can do what I need him to do tomorrow. Your student athlete is 2 years behind. Simple as that. Simple as that. And we either start getting to the nitty with all of these topics, and I'm not going to straddle a fence to make people happy. I'm not going to do that. And I'm simply trying to tell you, I'm not trying to paint everybody with a broad stroke. In fact, I'm doing the exact opposite because for the vast majority, 9 out of every 10 high school athletes, 9 out of every 10 will not be an NCAA Division I athlete. And I'm being generous with 9 out of 10. What I'm trying to say to you is that the sports at the collegiate level, regardless of the sport, fall, winter, spring, track and field, I don't really care. You pick the sport. It is extremely competitive in college. You need to be skilled. You need to be strong. You need to have speed. You need to have those things. And oh, by the way, for all those people that are saying grades don't matter, I don't know when this trend started. I don't know why. But if you're looking for college affordability, academics play a critical role for that. Okay, I want to answer any and all final questions. Let's just see. I am getting so many calls right now. So the last thing I want to leave parents with is this. And I think it's really important for parents what you should do right now. If you're a 2026 high school graduate, what you should do right now, and you have a commitment to a college, you need to call the college coach. You know how many athletes have been decommitting, high school athletes? Just go on social media. I challenge you to go on social media and see how many high school and JUCO athletes are decommitting. They are not decommitting. They're being told there's no room at the inn. But that having been said, if you're a 2026 graduate, make sure you call your college that you are about to enter. Ask the college coach, is everything good to go with my roster spot? Ask to speak with compliance. Ask them, I'm entering college in the fall of 2026. Will my student athlete, if they are able, academically and athletically, will they be able to be a part of the 5th year with regard to athletic eligibility? I absolutely encourage you to do that. The biggest mistake you are making as parents right now, because all of these parents are asking me, the biggest mistake, number one, you're assuming that at 19 is a cutoff. It is not. Nothing to do with the 19th birthday. Nothing to do with the 19th birthday. You simply cannot turn 20 prior to enrolling in college. Do not take a gap year unless you understand gap year, post-grad year. Make sure you fully understand the impact. Like, for instance, I'm saying when you take a gap year, and some people do this, they'll take a gap year and they take a full year of college courses, like meaning 15 hours. That's going to be considered you're enrolling in college full time, even though you're technically considering it a gap year. You must understand. Post-grad year is an extension of your high school experience. The gap year, and you're trying to do dual enrollment there or online classes, you really need to understand that. You need to make sure you have a plan, running the numbers. Does it make sense academically, affordability, athletically, to do that gap year, that post-grad year? Most athletes that I work with are 18, turning, like, let's say 18 in 6 months. They'll be 19 in 6 months when they graduate the post-grad year. They are good to go. Don't wait too long to talk to compliance officers at the schools that you are currently destined to attend. Call compliance, get answers today. Don't wait until August or September. What you should be doing as parents right now, I really want you to run the specific dates for your athletes. Keep it simple. Don't get complicated. Keep it simple. Ask 3 key questions. These are the key questions that you must ask. And I want to make sure that you must ask, does my athlete really track to be a varsity caliber college student athlete? Make sure you know the answer to that. That's where evaluations come in. Lots of great people that can give you that information, lots of wonderful resources in your local area. Does your athlete have a real runway ahead of them to become a college athlete? 2, what's the academic role for your student? Like, I get a lot of parents that say the last thing this world needs is another sports management major. I don't really care about academics. I just want them to have a fun 4 or 5 years of baseball. Okay, but understand, at some point, the real world is about competition. And I've lived this my whole adult life. A degree kind of plays a role, but if you don't think it does, okay, better make sure they're ready physically to be a college athlete. That is going to be key. Next, final takeaway, make sure you're communicating with the college coaches that you're currently committed to going to or are being recruited to attend. Ask the tough questions. If you don't know what those tough questions are, I can give you a few. I don't want to rattle them off and bore people. You can reach me at walter@coachbeede.com. I think it's critical that parents need to have questions to ask every college coach that contacts your student athlete. Don't worry about playing time. Don't worry about your uniform number. Don't worry about, hey, how are you going to develop my student athlete? You want to have the questions that really are going to matter. What can my student athlete do prior to coming in the fall of his freshman year to be fully prepared? Can you give me a blueprint on what my student athlete can do to make sure they are as physically ready, academically ready to when their feet hit this campus in the fall, that they are ready to compete, to be able to be an active participant within your program? That's just one of many that you should be asking. With these changes, do delayed enrollment rules no longer apply? Based on my December 25 grad date, I was not allowed to participate in organized competition from March 1st, 2027 to starting in college. Patrick, without seeing your video, I cannot answer that educatedly, and I don't want to. It would really depend upon the level that you are going to be able to play in the fall or spring of 2027. I would need to see video. That's the key prerequisite here. Remember, this only applies, as we're talking today in 2026, to NCAA Division I. Do I think NAIA and NCAA Division II are going to do this? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And if you're going to Division III, which is the biggest movement pattern, migration pattern, is Division III athletes to Division I. Why? Because they have a resume, they're bigger, faster, stronger, and they're ready to play at the Division I level. I would want to make sure you're asking compliance at your new school. Keep it simple. You're very, very welcome. Thank you to everyone that's participated tonight. I simply want to end on this note. We live in a very predatory world. It's in every aspect and facet of life. Those that can make money will make money. And I want you to understand that just this week, last week, I probably negotiated about $700,000 in name, image collectives. I probably have dealt with more MLB draft discussions. I've talked to college coaches from Division III. I talked to them at Division II. I talked to them at JUCO, mid-majors, Power Four. I talked to college coaches. College coaches are not the enemy. College coaches are looking for those student athletes that are prepared mentally and physically to be able to compete and give their program the best opportunity to win on a consistent basis. It's as simple as that. Parents plan, choose, avoid chasing. Avoid the old narrative. The old narrative has gone away and it's never coming back. Many parents that I interact with that have younger student athletes that are 14 to 16, your priorities have nothing, zip, zero, nada, nothing to do with college recruiting. If anybody is trying to sell you a recruiting package as a 14 to 16-year-old, and it's just about college recruiting, and it has nothing to do with nutrition. It has nothing to do with strength, speed, school, prep, ACT, SAT, tutoring. You're wasting your time. Those days are gone and they are never coming back. The MLB collective bargaining agreement is going to cut 20 rounds to 10 or 12. They may or may not eliminate high school athletes. I don't think they'll be able to accomplish that. I don't think the players' union will allow that. But that's the next wave. Parents, this is like the ocean, and every single month there are new big waves. This is a tsunami we are dealing with right now, but it only applies to NCAA Division I. Most athletes are going to be lower level division athletes that will get the opportunity to play and create a resume. I want to say thank you to all of those people that send in questions. Some I take a little bit longer, and I apologize. If you're sending in direct messages via X or social media, Facebook and Instagram, I will get to those. If you want to email me at walter@coachbeede.com, I will answer your questions. I want you to understand, I deal with transfer portal athletes. I deal with postgraduate. I deal with preparation for college recruiting. I deal in this entire space from beginning to end. But the three things that I want you to understand, it's not up to me where your student athlete plays. I don't push athletes on coaches. We plan, we take action steps, and the ultimate part of the plan is the execution, which is the student athletes themselves. And we must emphasize the student athlete must take action steps and be accountable for their development. Be accountable for your development. And JUCO going to be a huge beneficiary because now you go there for 2 years, you get 3 years of Division I. Division III, go there and play, build a resume, get between the lines, go play Division I. All of this to say, find your fit, find your path, your path. There is no shame in any way, shape, or form when a college coach, regardless of the level or division, takes the time to reach out to your college student athlete. Be respectful, be responsible, speak with them, learn. If it's not geographically a fit, if it doesn't have your area of academic interest, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't feel right. It's okay to say to a coach, I appreciate you taking the time to reach out, but at this time, I don't think that your school and program would be a good fit for me as we're talking today. And if anything were to change in the future, I'll be sure to reach out. That is a respectful and responsible way. College coaches are trying to do their best to put their best product on the field every single day. You're very welcome, Patrick. Nuke City. Is this new rule for MLB getting drafted out of high school going to load up the college with more talent? Britt Patton. All right. Britt Patton. Yes, to answer to your question, to Nuke City. I love that name, Nuke City. Nuke City sums this whole evening up in one very simple paragraph, and that is the draft and the 5 and 5 combined together, less rounds, less players exiting college. Now we have a longer period of time that college athletes can stay, means older players, bigger players, stronger, faster, more skilled. High school athletes, the message, parents, the message should be Do not chase tournaments. Do not chase showcases. Do not chase camps until your student athlete has the size, the speed, the strength, the skill to compete at the college level. Now, college coaches are going to be able to do projections of your college rising juniors and obviously high school rising juniors and high school rising seniors. They don't have to have that skill today, but they have to be progressing so that they're not graduating high school at 172. They're not running a 7.3 and playing shortstop. They don't have 83-mile-an-hour arm strength across the diamond from shortstop or right field or as a catcher, meaning as a catcher, they have a 2.35 pop time in game, which is realistic, or 2.2 or 2.1. You have to have the skill. You have to be able to, and also you have to be able to execute. When your student athlete gets the opportunity to play and they don't have success, that's going to test them mentally. But if they're not performing, they're not going to be playing. That's a rule in college. If you can't perform, if you can't execute, you can't play. No matter how great of a young man or a young woman your student athlete is, it's important to understand when your student athlete gets the opportunity, they must perform. That is the key. Thank you so much for joining. It is the summertime. I hope everybody uses this time wisely. If you need any assistance in any way, shape, or form, Walter at CoachBeede.com. I thank you very much for your time. Please, on your way out, subscribe and comment on the YouTube video. My videos are a lot longer than all of the other people in my space. They get a lot more engagement because they're only 10 minutes, and then they want you to go sign up for something to get the longer version. I give this away free. I do it for a reason. Thank you, and have a great week in baseball.